Something big is starting to build around this team right now, and honestly, it feels like the Seahawks are heading into one of their most important seasons in years. There are a couple players with huge pressure on them, major contract situations still hanging in the air, and some serious questions about who's truly going to step up when this team needs it most. And the crazy part is, the answers could completely change the future of this roster moving forward. If you're fired up for Seahawks football, smash that like button right now and drop a "Go Hawks" down in the comments, so I know the real 12s are here watching with me. Derick Hall's future with the Seattle Seahawks is suddenly becoming one of the most fascinating storylines surrounding this defense, and the closer we get to the new season, the more pressure starts building around what could end up being a make-or-break year for the former Auburn pass rusher. What makes this situation so interesting is that Seattle clearly likes Hall as a player, but at the same time, the organization has also made moves that suggest they are still not completely convinced he is ready to become a long-term cornerstone of this defensive front. When you really look at how Hall's career has unfolded in Seattle so far, you can see both sides of the argument. He has not been a bad player whatsoever. In fact, there have been stretches where he looked like a perfect fit for Mike Macdonald's defensive philosophy. Hall has shown flashes as a physical edge defender who can hold up against the run while also creating pressure through stunts and twists, which is exactly the type of versatility Macdonald values in his defensive system. But at the same time, Seattle's actions this offseason speak loudly. The Seahawks went out and brought in DeMarcus Lawrence, and that move instantly changed the conversation around Hall's role. Instead of entering the season as one of the unquestioned starters on the edge, Hall now finds himself fighting for opportunities again. That tells you the coaching staff still believes there is another level he needs to reach before they fully hand him the keys to this defense. And honestly, that competition might be the best thing possible for him, because this upcoming season is shaping up to be the biggest evaluation year of Derick Hall's career. Seattle is going to learn very quickly whether he is simply a valuable rotational piece or whether he can eventually become the long-term answer once veterans begin moving on. The reality is that the Seahawks are building this defense around toughness, versatility, and physicality. Mike Macdonald wants edge defenders who can completely shut down outside runs while still attacking quarterbacks aggressively in passing situations. Hall actually checks many of those boxes already. The issue is consistency. That has been the biggest thing missing from Hall's game so far. Seahawks fans have seen the flashes. There have been games where he looked explosive, disruptive, and capable of taking over certain stretches defensively. Then there have been moments where he simply disappeared for long portions of games. For a team trying to compete deep into January, that inconsistency becomes difficult to overlook. And that's why the addition of veterans like DeMarcus Lawrence matters so much. Seattle is trying to create an environment where younger players are forced to elevate their level. There are no guaranteed spots anymore. Every snap has to be earned. That kind of pressure can either break a player or completely unlock them. What makes this even more important is the timing of Hall's contract situation. Seattle traditionally does not rush into extensions when players still have multiple years left on their deals. That has been part of John Schneider's philosophy for years. So even if the Seahawks internally like Hall, they may still decide to let this season play out before making any major financial commitment. And that creates a very real possibility that Hall could eventually follow a path similar to what fans have seen before with rotational defenders in Seattle. He could play out his contract, test free agency, and potentially leave while the Seahawks collect a compensatory pick in return. Now imagine how much pressure that puts on this season. Every sack matters. Every quarterback pressure matters. Every time he sets the edge correctly against the run matters. Hall is entering a season where the organization is basically asking one question. Can we trust you as a foundational piece of this defense moving forward? That's not a small question, especially when you consider how much the Seahawks are investing emotionally into Mike Macdonald's new defensive identity. Seattle believes Macdonald can become one of the best head coaches in football. There's enormous excitement internally about what he is building. And because of that, every player on this roster is now being evaluated through the lens of whether they fit that vision long-term. Hall fits some parts of it beautifully. His physical style, his ability to defend the run, his versatility to play multiple alignments, those are all things Macdonald values heavily. But the Seahawks still need proof that he can become more than just a complementary piece. Meanwhile, another major storyline quietly developing behind the scenes is the Devon Witherspoon situation, and Seahawks fans are becoming increasingly anxious, waiting for that extension to finally happen. Seattle already exercised his fifth-year option, which guarantees he will remain with the team for at least the next couple seasons. But fans know that's not really the point anymore. The real conversation is about securing one of the most important defensive players this franchise has had in years. Every time Witherspoon is healthy and on the field, he completely changes the energy of this defense. His intensity, physicality, and instincts have already made him one of the most impactful players on the roster, despite still being early in his NFL career. There are games where he genuinely looks like the best player on the defense, and Seattle knows it. That's why there's growing belief that an extension could happen sooner rather than later. The Seahawks are not in panic mode because Witherspoon continues showing up, working, and remaining engaged with the organization. But fans also understand how quickly elite cornerback prices continue climbing across the NFL. Every month that passes without a deal potentially makes the future contract even more expensive. And honestly, this entire situation says a lot about where the Seahawks are right now as an organization. This is no longer a franchise simply trying to stay competitive. Seattle is trying to build something sustainable under Mike Macdonald. They are identifying which young players truly fit the future vision and which players might eventually become replaceable pieces. That's why this season feels so massive for several players on this roster. Derick Hall is trying to prove he deserves a long-term future in Seattle. Devon Witherspoon is trying to establish himself as the unquestioned face of this defense. And Mike Macdonald is trying to show the NFL that the Seahawks are officially entering a new era built around physical defense, toughness, and relentless pressure. The fascinating part is that all these storylines are connected. If Hall takes a massive leap, this defense suddenly becomes much deeper and more dangerous. If Witherspoon signs an extension soon, it sends a huge message about Seattle locking in its young core for the future. And if Macdonald's system starts clicking early, the Seahawks could become one of the most dangerous teams nobody wants to face later in the season. There's real energy building around this team right now, but there are also enormous expectations starting to form. Seahawks fans are watching closely because they understand this upcoming season could reveal exactly which players are truly part of the next championship foundation in Seattle. And now I want to hear from you, Seahawks fans. Do you believe Derick Hall is ready to take that next step and become a true cornerstone of this defense? Or should Seattle continue looking for another long-term answer off the edge? Drop your thoughts down in the comments, because this is one of the biggest questions surrounding the Seahawks right now. And if you enjoyed this update, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and turn on notifications so you never miss any breaking Seahawks news. Stay right here, because the biggest Seattle Seahawks updates are coming fast, and you're going to want to see what happens next.